Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to translate a poem by Rumi to English for you. I love Rumi. He's my favorite poem, my favorite author, and the author of the best book that I have ever read in my life. That book is called Masnavi Ma'navi. However, Masnavi is a long book and it's a difficult read even for native Persian speakers. So I still haven't found a way to present pieces of its content in the format of YouTube videos. What we are going to do today instead is to cover a shorter poem of his from his other book called Shams's Poems, Ghazaliyat Shams. And before I dive in, I have to explain my translation style. As a Rumi reader and a Rumi enjoyer, one thing that frustrates me a lot is the anachronistic way that his poems are translated into social media posts on X, on Instagram, and on YouTube. But I understand why. Basically, whenever you're translating something, you have to make a trade-off between two goals. The first goal is to make sure that your content is understandable to the audience. And the second goal is that you are loyal to the original source. And when you add the additional constraint of being concise, you have to prioritize the understandability goal even more. However, as a native Farsi speaker, I'm enabled to take the other approach and remain as loyal to the original source as I can. But that has the consequence of not being so understandable by you as the audience. Specifically, that means you are going to find some of the analogies and some of the references sounding a little weird. After I'm done with the translation, I'm going to explain those references and those analogies. But before that, I also have to mention that Rumi was a believer. He was a Muslim. So if you are not a believer, you may find some of what I'm going to say sounding a little Greek to you. But again, I'm trying to be as loyal to the original source as I can. One more thing is that I try to maintain some sort of artistic tone in the English translation of the poem. But keep in mind that first, I'm not a native English speaker, and second, English and Persian are totally separate languages. So it's virtually impossible to translate the rhythm in English as well. I did it to the best of my ability, and I hope you enjoy it. That's all I had for the intro. Let's now dive in and see what Rumi has for us to hear. هل نومید نباشی که تو را یار براند گرت امروز براند نه که فردات بخواند. Lo, don't despair when the companion turns you away. For if he turns you away today, won't he call you tomorrow? در اگر بر تو ببندد مرو و صبر کن آنجا ز پس صبر تو را او به سر صدر نشاند. If he shuts the door at you, don't leave and linger there. For after patience, he will seat you in the place of honor. و اگر بر تو ببندد همه رهها و گذرها ره پنهان بنماید که کسان راه نداند. And if he closes all the paths and the passages, he will show you a hidden way that no one else knows. نه که قصاب به خنجر چو سر میش ببرد نهلد کشته خود را کشد آنگاه کشاند. Isn't that true that when a butcher severs a sheep's head, he doesn't abandon his kill. First kills, then carries away. چو دم میش نماند ز دم خود کندش پر. تو ببینی دم یزدان به کجاهات رساند. When the sheep has no more breath, he fills it with his own breath. You will see where the breath of the praiseworthy will take you. به مثل گفتم این را و اگر نه کرم او نکشد هیچ کسی را که ز کشتن برهاند. This I have said as an allegory, otherwise his grace kills nobody and indeed spares from death. همگی ملک سلیمان به یکی مور ببخشد، بدهد هر دو جهان را و دلی را نرماند. He may give the entire Solomon's kingdom to a single ant. He may grant the both worlds and not drive away a single heart. دل من گرد جهان گشت و نیابید مثالش. به که ماند، به که ماند، به که ماند، به که ماند. My heart searched around the world and didn't find his likeness. Who does he look like? 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 هله خاموش که بی گفت از این می همگان را بچشاند، 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 بچشاند. Low and hush now, because without saying, from this wine and to all people, he gives a taste, he gives a taste, he gives a taste, he gives a taste. Now that we are done with the poem, let me explain some references and analogies for you. First off, let's start with the whole butchering process. Before industrial meat processing plants were a thing, and in today's traditional butchering methods, and if you have done any hunting on your own where you have to process a carcass on your own, one important thing is to ensure that all valuable parts of the animal are used and nothing valuable goes to waste. And one important valuable part of any animal is the hide, is the skin, because you can tan it, you can make leather out of it, you can make clothing out of it, and you generally don't want it to go to waste. So when you're extracting the meat, you don't want to tear apart the skin. You want to preserve it to the best of your ability. One way to skin an animal and ensure that the skin is less damaged is called air skinning. The process is you put a hole on the skin of the animal, usually around one limb, and you blow air into that. Air will go in between the skin and the flesh and will separate them. Therefore, less knife work will be required to remove the skin, and the chances of the skin getting damaged reduces. So when Rumi is talking about blowing air, he is talking about that process. And another thing that I want to talk about is Rumi's viewpoint about anything that comes into contact with human beings and the whole promotion of the sheep's status that was taught in the poem. Rumi believed that human beings are sacred, and anything that became a part of a human would respectively be promoted to the same exalted status. If I were to cite another verse from Rumi, he would say, چون تعلق یافت نان با بوالبشر نان مرده زنده گشت و با خبر, which says, as bread was owned by human, a dead bread became alive and conscious as it became a part of a human. So when Rumi is saying that the breath of God will promote you to a higher status, he is talking about that concept as well. And another thing which I have to mention is the reference of the breath of God. In Quran, there is a story that human beings were created by the breath of God. So when he is making that metaphor, he is also referring to that story. But since it's going to be far-fetched and a little out of scope, I'm not going to dive into that story that much. And one more reference, which is not elaborated again, is the whole story of King Solomon and ants. It's referring to a story in Quran chapter 27, Surah An-Naml, Surah An-Naml, and he's basically mentioning that story. But again, since it's not elaborated, I'm not going to cover it in detail. These were all the references that I could identify in this very poem. I hope it helped you better understand and appreciate his point of view. If you want me to cover some more poems from Rumi or from other Iranian and Persian speaking poets, feel free to give me your feedback and tell me what you think. If you want to see the Persian text of this poem and the English translation and some other information that I couldn't present in the format of a YouTube video, feel free to click on the link in the description down below, which will take you to my blog where I have included more information about this poem. And click here or here if you want to see me covering more Persian poems and other topics that I find intriguing to talk about. Until the next time, wherever you are and whatever time it is out there, make sure to have a good one. Bye.